Welcome to Writing Workshop. Today, we're going to talk about some of the elements of poetry, techniques that authors use to help make their poems even better. As we read the poems on each page, I want you to think about two things. What do you notice in the poem, and what do you think about the poem? Tigers. Tim the terrifying tiger tiptoes through tangled trees, his twitching tail thumping, his terrible teeth terrifying turtles who tumble away. Dessert for dinner. Joe desires dessert for dinner. Cakes, ice cream, pie. He's not a picky guy. Joe just desired dessert for dinner. Pause now and think about what you notice in these two poems. Each of these poems have sounds or letters that repeat at the beginning of words. In Tigers, the sound t or t keeps repeating, and in Dessert for Dinner, the sound d or d keeps repeating. This element of poetry is called alliteration. Alliteration is when authors use the same letter or sound at the beginning of words in a phrase. Authors have many different reasons they may use alliteration. Sometimes they use it to just entertain us or make us laugh. Sometimes they use it to add rhythm to a poem and make it flow better. And sometimes they use alliteration to just make the poem more interesting. On this next page, see if you can identify alliteration in the poem. Bear in there. There's a polar bear in our Frigidaire. He likes it 'cause it's cold in there. With his seat in the meat, and his face in the fish, and his big hairy paws in the buttery dish. He's nibbling the noodles, he's munching the rice, he's slurping the soda, he's licking the ice. And he lets out a roar if you open the door, and it gives me a scare to know he's in there, that polary bear in our Frigidaire. You can pause now and find places where you see alliteration, the same sound or letter repeating over and over again. You could have found 'cause it's cold in there, face in the fish, nibbling the noodles, slurping the soda. These are places where the author used alliteration in the poem. I'm going to read these two poems, and I want you to think about what you notice about them. The noisy recess. Ah! Scream the kids as they play. Stomp, stomp, go the feet tumbling down the path. Bang, go the kids hitting the pole. Kids kicking soccer balls. Kick, kick, kick. Buzz go the bees. Swish goes the ball into the hoop. Tweet screeches the whistle. Time to go inside. Beach orchestra. The waves are racing towards the shore, booming, crashing. More, more, more. The sand is crunching beneath my feet. Boom, crash, crunch, crunch. I march to the beat. Sandcastles toppling, umbrellas whisking by, storm clouds brewing, land meets sky. Booming waves, biting wind, full gray clouds. Let the storm begin. You can pause here and think about what you notice in each of these poems. In each of these poems, the author is using onomatopoeia. This is when an author uses words that mimic sounds or actions, like ah and stomp, stomp, bang, booming, crashing. These are all words that sound like the actions they are talking about. Authors may use onomatopoeia to help readers visualize a poem, to add short descriptions to a poem without using a lot of words, or to help readers use their senses to understand. So it may help readers to feel like they can actually hear something that's going on or actually feel something. In this poem, see if you can identify some onomatopoeia words, words that mimic the sounds or the actions they are talking about. Fireworks, Bright streaks whiz through the sky. Thunk, whoosh. Brightly colored explosions sizzle and pop, pop, pop. Pause here and choose which words show onomatopoeia. The words whiz, thunk, whoosh, pop, all are onomatopoeia words. They imitate the sounds that they are talking about. Take a look at these two poems, and as I read them, think about what you notice. How not to have to dry the dishes. If you have to dry the dishes, such an awful, boring chore. If you have to dry the dishes, instead of going to the store. If you have to dry the dishes and you drop one on the floor, maybe they won't let you dry the dishes anymore. Sweet, sweet dog. Today, sweet dog, I'm proud of you. Today, you didn't chase the cat. You didn't bark or jump on me. When I said sit, you smiled and sat. Today, sweet dog, I'm proud of you. You didn't leave mud on my bed. You are such a sweet, sweet dog. Let me kiss your fuzzy head. Pause here and think about what you notice about these two poems. One thing the author in each poem does here is uses repetition, repeating the same word or phrases over and over again. So in How Not to Have to Dry the Dishes, if you have to dry the dishes is a line they continually repeat. And in Sweet, Sweet Dog, the author repeats, today, sweet dog, I'm proud of you. Authors may use repetition to create a pattern or a rhythm in a poem, and they also may use repetition to draw attention to important ideas, things that they really want the readers to notice and focus on. As I read this poem, see if you can notice places where the author uses repetition. Toe jam jam. No one makes jam out of toe jam. I was the first to try. But when I spread toe jam on toast, I knew the reason why. No one makes jam out of toe jam, for everybody knows. Toe jam is disgusting. Toe jam tastes like toes. Pause and think about where you notice repetition in this poem. The author used repetition by repeating no one makes jam out of toe jam twice. Talk with someone at home about which of these elements of poetry is your favorite and why. Today we learned about alliteration, repeating the same sound or letter at the beginning of a word in a phrase, onomatopoeia, using words that imitate the sounds or actions they're talking about, and repetition, repeating a word, a line, or a phrase over again in a poem. If you would like, you could try to write a short poem yourself using alliteration, onomatopoeia, or repetition. If you have poems or short stories that you have already written, maybe in a journal at home, you could also add one of these elements into something that you have already written.